In 1936, a team of Nazi archaeologists uncovered this inside a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid. It was a version of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but with a forbidden edition. And the great island of Ahamanta was swallowed by the sea, for its children defied the gods. This passage, written 1,200 years before Plato, suggests Atlantis wasn't just a Greek myth. It was an Egyptian memory. Why was it hidden? Because it describes something that still exists beneath the ice of Antarctica. To understand the full truth, we must revisit every word Plato ever wrote, and more importantly, what he chose not to say. The official story says Atlantis was just a legend, but burned manuscripts, redacted coordinates, and secrets buried beneath the ocean say otherwise. In 2023, an artificial intelligence reconstructed a manuscript destroyed in 1945. What it produced wasn't a text, it was a map, and that map didn't point to El Dorado. It didn't lead to Alexander's tomb. It led to the center of the Atlantic, to a city that, according to every textbook, never existed. This is infinite curiosity, where the impossible becomes a question. What if everything you knew was just the beginning? Over 2,000 years ago, a Greek philosopher wrote something that could change history if we dared to believe him. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato described a massive island beyond the Pillars of Hercules, home to a civilization so advanced it ruled the seas, the skies, and perhaps even the mind. A city built in concentric circles with navigable canals, walls made of exotic metals, and temples dedicated to a wisdom we still don't understand. Fantasy? That's what the textbooks say. But if that's true, why were Egyptian priests talking about that same city thousands of years earlier? And why do their descriptions match structures we're only now detecting beneath the sea? In a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. But that's not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is, it wasn't the last time anyone spoke of it. Solon, one of Greece's 7 sages, traveled to Egypt and heard the tale of Atlantis directly from the priests of Sais. They spoke of a war between the Atlanteans and the peoples of the Mediterranean, and of a global cataclysm that ended it all. Plato took those accounts, compared them to Orphic sources, and wrote them into a story that, even today, divides scholars. But here's a detail many overlook. Plato didn't present this as mythology. He presented it as history. And more strangely, he claimed it was just a small part of a much larger story, one he didn't dare tell. Some modern researchers claim that using bathymetric maps and satellite data leaked from Google Earth, you can clearly see perfectly circular formations on the seafloor southwest of the Azores. These images were blurred or removed in recent updates. But one of the most cited coordinates, 31 degrees north, 24 degrees west. Images before 2010 showed what looked like man-made symmetry, but just shadows. The Maya and Aztecs spoke of a sunken continent from which their gods had come. The Dogon tribe in Mali had impossible star maps and spoke of a city that fell from the sky. The ancient Vedas of India described kingdoms that vanished when the ocean awakened. What if they were all describing the same place? If Atlantis was real, then we're not just talking about lost history. We're talking about a missing link in human evolution. And if it was destroyed, who did it? And what? Because what comes next is the beginning of the end. An island in the middle of the Aegean Sea. A sky turned blood red. And an explosion so powerful, it echoed through the myths of humanity for centuries. In 1600 BC, the earth roared, and the island of Thera, now known as Santorini, was obliterated. The volcanic eruption that struck it was one of the most violent in recorded history. Entire cities vanished in seconds. Colossal tsunamis hammered Mediterranean shores, and a thick veil of ash darkened the skies for years, like a shroud hiding something that was never meant to be found. But beneath that layer of death, a city was frozen in time. Akrotiri, a Minoan city, preserved as if time itself had conspired to protect it, waiting for someone to uncover it. What archaeologists found there was nothing like they expected. Perfectly preserved frescoes. Paintings of harbors and ships navigating canals that looked eerily familiar. Straight streets. Sophisticated drainage systems. Architecture far too advanced for its time. And most striking of all, murals of circular islands connected by water channels. Exactly like Plato's description. A coincidence? Plato wrote that Atlantis disappeared more than 9,000 years before Solon, which would place it around 9,600 BC. But the eruption of Santorini occurred in 1600 BC. A contradiction? Or a mistake? Maybe not. Some researchers believe the dating discrepancy is due to a mistranslation. They propose that the ancient Egyptians may not have been speaking of solar years, but lunar months. If we convert 9,000 years to 9,000 lunar months, the timeline matches almost perfectly. So maybe the real question isn't whether Santorini was Atlantis, but whether it was its echo, its reflection, its air. Because what Akrotiri reveals is more than a buried city. It shows a civilization of seafarers, engineers, and visionaries, with clear connections to Egypt and perhaps to other lost cultures. Were the Minoans the descendants of the Atlanteans? The shared symbols, geometric patterns, cosmological parallels, they all point to a common origin, an older, broader, long-forgotten legacy. And so, a new hypothesis emerges. Santorini wasn't Atlantis. It was a colony, an outpost of an empire that ruled the seas, and then vanished without a trace. Or at least, without a trace we're allowed to understand. But there's a major objection to the Santorini theory: its location. Plato clearly stated that Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, beyond the Strait of Gibraltar, deep into the Atlantic Ocean. Santorini, in contrast, is located in the Aegean Sea, well within the Mediterranean. So how do we reconcile this contradiction? Some researchers argue that the phrase was symbolic or misinterpreted over centuries. Others go further, suggesting that Atlantis wasn't a single city, but a vast civilization with strategic colonies across the ancient world. In this light, cities like Santorini and Heracleion, Thonis, the sunken Egyptian city near the Nile Delta, could have been Atlantean outposts within the Mediterranean. Heracleion, too, was swallowed by the sea. Its ruins show advanced port infrastructure, ceremonial art, and direct links to Egypt's oldest temples. This pattern keeps repeating. Cities with astronomical knowledge, hydraulic engineering, megalithic structures, and a cosmic worldview. From Egypt to Mesoamerica, the echoes of a lost wisdom speak through different languages, but maybe from a shared source. What if these cultures weren't contemporaries, but inheritors? What if Atlantis wasn't just a place, but an idea, a mother culture, a source of knowledge scattered before its destruction? If that's true, then Santorini isn't the origin. It's the last visible beacon of something far greater, something that still waits beneath the oceans and the sand. Fascinated by the universe's greatest mysteries? Subscribe, comment, and join us as we explore them with the most advanced artificial intelligence. Thousands of years ago, when humanity was just beginning to understand the world around it, there existed a civilization whose technology seemed to defy time itself. Plato described Atlantis as an island of unimaginable power, where the Atlanteans not only ruled the seas, but also wielded secrets that modern science still struggles to comprehend. Imagine cities built in concentric rings, surrounded by navigable canals, and protected by walls of unknown metals. Buildings that shimmered with precious alloys. Hydraulic systems far beyond their era. And machines based on principles we're only now rediscovering. But what kind of technology did they truly possess? Ancient texts recovered from forgotten manuscripts speak of inconceivable energy sources, capable of powering entire cities without wood, coal, or fire. Clean energy, seemingly drawn from crystals and rare stones. This power wasn't just mechanical, it was spiritual. Atlanteans believed energy was more than physical force. It was a link to universal consciousness. In underwater excavations near the Azores, structures have been found that resemble parts of massive machinery, stone labyrinths, mathematically precise channels. Some experts believe these were cooling systems or energy conductors. And across ancient myths, the same stories repeat. Flying machines, light without flame, healing methods far beyond modern medicine. Could these myths be echoes of a lost technology buried by a cataclysm that erased all traces? The AI-restored manuscript of 2023 didn't just contain maps. It contained references to a power that could bend reality. Stones that resonated with hidden energies, capable of amplifying the human mind and possibly even shaping space itself. Was Atlantis a civilization that mastered the laws of physics long before us? Or is this just another exaggerated myth? One thing is clear. Unusual metals recovered from certain archaeological sites do not match any known ancient technologies. And symbols carved into temples and artifacts suggest deep knowledge of sacred geometry and vibrational science. Perhaps most disturbing of all, this knowledge vanished abruptly, swallowed by the sea and buried by history. Atlantis wasn't just a city. It was a center of technological and spiritual power, a mystery we're only beginning to grasp. When we try to understand the fall of Atlantis, we step into a realm filled with enigmas, contradictions, and accounts that seem drawn from both mythology and hidden history. Plato, our first and most important witness, was clear. In a single day and night of misfortune, the island was swallowed by the earth and the sea. But what does that really mean? Was it just a natural disaster, or was there something more? For centuries, scholars have debated whether Atlantis was destroyed by a massive geological event, a colossal earthquake or an unprecedented volcanic eruption, or if it fell due to darker forces. What's indisputable is that its disappearance was sudden, total, and devastating, erasing from the map a civilization that, according to texts, had reached a technological and spiritual level far beyond our current understanding. Ancient records, such as those from historians Pliny the Elder and Diodorus Siculus, describe natural phenomena that may have been linked to such a tragedy. Earthquakes shaking entire continents, tsunamis devastating distant coastlines, and extreme climate events that forever altered the face of the Earth. But even these accounts fall short of explaining the scale of destruction or the near-total silence that followed. Geologically, anomalies have been detected in the Atlantic Ocean seabed, right where Plato placed Atlantis. Some studies suggest a massive tectonic shift or plate collapse may have caused a sudden submersion of land. This theory could explain not only the island's disappearance, but also why no visible archaeological traces remain. Yet evidence is scarce, and skeptics argue that such a collapse should have left clearer marks. Still, the natural disaster might only be part of the story. Ancient esoteric texts and folklore suggest that Atlantis possessed an unknown and powerful energy source, a form of technology far beyond what we know today. Legends speak of crystals capable of generating clean, limitless energy, of flying machines, and even weapons of mass destruction. Could a technological accident have triggered the end? Some of the darker tales mention an internal war, a power struggle between Atlantean factions seeking control of this energy for selfish purposes. Interpretations of these legends point to a devastating clash, leaving physical, spiritual, and energetic scars that the ocean ultimately swallowed. Though speculative, these theories gain credibility when we consider that Atlantis' story didn't end with its fall. Ancient cultures, the Mayans and Aztecs in the Americas, the Egyptians and Sumerians in the Near East, and the Dogon of Africa, retain myths and symbols that appear to echo fragments of this lost past. Some believe Atlantean survivors escaped, carrying their knowledge across the globe, seeding early civilizations and laying the foundations of humanity as we know it. The shared geometric symbols, astronomical knowledge, and parallel myths among these distant societies suggest Atlantis may have been the womb of many breakthroughs. Its fall, rather than ending its legacy, scattered it, embedding it into traditions and teachings worldwide. Consider the Dogon cosmology, with its precise knowledge of stars, including Sirius B, an invisible star modern science only recently confirmed. Or the pyramids of Egypt, the ruins of Teotihuacan, and other ancient Mediterranean cities, all reflecting advanced architectural and astronomical wisdom that may trace back to the same source. But this raises a troubling question. If Atlantis was the cradle of such wisdom, why was it destroyed? Was it a tragic accident, a divine punishment, or a deliberate erasure to keep certain secrets hidden? The mystery deepens when we consider that Atlantis may have been a civilization playing with forces it couldn't fully control, a technology that could alter nature itself. And the price of that recklessness may have been its extinction. While the oceans continue to guard their secrets, modern humanity still searches for answers. Underwater archaeology, LiDAR scans, and satellite analysis have revealed structures that challenge conventional explanations. But censorship, pixelated images, and restricted access to official data only fuel suspicions that a greater truth is being withheld. Atlantis, then, isn't just a story of a distant past. It's a mirror of our own fragility and our ambition, a reminder that knowledge is a double-edged sword, and that the balance between wisdom and power is crucial for survival. As science pushes forward to uncover the mystery, we are invited to question not only what we know of history, but how we define our place in the universe. The search for Atlantis is ultimately the search for ourselves. The ancient world has always fascinated us, with stories of lost civilizations and untold mysteries. But what if we told you that one of these mysteries could be hiding in plain sight? Santorini, an island that many believe could be the remains of Atlantis, is now revealing secrets that challenge everything we thought we knew about the past. Recent discoveries from the island suggest that the Minoan civilization, known for its advanced culture and technology, might have been far more connected to the world than we ever imagined. From the remains of an ancient city buried beneath layers of volcanic ash, to artifacts that showcase advanced technology, Santorini is quickly becoming the focal point of a mysterious and revolutionary historical narrative. But why has this island been linked to Atlantis? The evidence suggests that the Minoans were not just survivors of a natural disaster. They may have been the bridge between ancient civilizations, possibly acting as intermediaries between Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the far-off lands of the Americas. Could the remnants of Santorini actually be the lost city of Atlantis? And if so, what does this mean for our understanding of ancient global connections? As we continue to uncover the secrets of the past, we're not just looking at isolated events. What if the civilizations we've always thought of as separate were actually connected through trade, knowledge, and even culture, spanning continents and ages? The evidence points to an even larger mystery. What if Atlantis wasn't just one city, but a network of advanced cities spread across the globe? Cities like Tiwanaku in Bolivia, Titicaca in Mexico, and even the ancient Egyptian pyramids share striking similarities with what we know of Atlantis. Mysterious ruins, advanced engineering, and astronomical alignments suggest that these civilizations were connected in ways we're just beginning to understand. But the story doesn't end there. New discoveries and cutting-edge technology are now revealing hidden connections between ancient cultures. Could these cities have been part of a larger Atlantis-like network that influenced the rise of major civilizations on every continent? Evidence from Santorini and other sites show that the possibilities are vast, and the connections even more complex. In this chapter, we'll explore how these ancient cities might have been linked through trade, technology, and shared knowledge, creating a global civilization that could have influenced everything from architecture to agriculture. We'll also examine how recent findings, such as underwater cities and lost pyramids, are changing our understanding of history and how they all might point to a long-lost civilization that's been hidden for millennia. Fascinated by the universe's greatest mysteries? Subscribe, comment, and join us as we explore them with the most advanced artificial intelligence.